Good evening and welcome to Laughing Monkey Music Show, taped by Mandy Lion. Mandy, how are you?
Could be worse, like I said.
I want to thank you for coming on. I know you don't do many of these at all. I don't think there's many out there of you doing these actually. So I appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bubba.
I'm excited because I've enjoyed your music through the years. It's kind of been not enough out there, in my opinion. It's just jams and stuff out there. There's some great stuff on your YouTube page, and I'm going to encourage people to go subscribe to your YouTube page. But you have a new single out, awesome video, awesome graphics, good song, good music. It's exciting.
Thank you.
Let's just roll up our sleeves and start there.
Okay, thank you.
The inspiration, you said it's your life story.
Yeah, it's I just figured people have been behind me for so long. There's a lot of bands, if they would have put out as few albums as I have, they would just disappear. And I just felt I needed to explain my strangeness to the people that have been with me all these years and have been so patient and are still with me. So I figured if they meet me, and sometimes you can't really explain why you are as weird as you are. So I figured it's probably best to just explain it. That's why I did a book, and that's why we did the video.
It's pretty harsh. I really feel like you've gone through a lot. I'm sorry as a person you've had to go through that. I mean,
Well, I mean, it obviously it wasn't easy, but sometimes, I figure, if that, you know, especially now that I'm talking about it, there's other kids out there who are going through similar things, and I figured if even one of them can see this and see that even when you are kind of a broken thing, you can still do a little something with your life. If that helps anybody, then it was all worth it.
I agree, and I think a lot of people can draw from that, and and I don't like to think of people as being broken. They're just not in that right spot. You know, you don't you're not excelling. What's that? It's Einstein. Fish can't ride a bike or some crazy saying. Like, if you're not at your best, and I know that personally.
Yeah.
Clearly, when you're in a bad spot, the stuff you've gone through, people's telling you stuff that's just awful and wrong. It's important to believe in yourself. People that treat you bad, it's not acceptable. There's something awesome in everybody. Um, and that's the message I get from the video. It's a good song too. I mean, good graphics.
Oh yeah, the guy that did it, his name is Ren Wong. He is amazing. I mean, we were looking for an artist for probably about 2 years. I had this idea for a while, and couldn't find anybody. I mean, we were talking to people all over the world. It just was never the right style. We wanted something that was kind of comic book like, And yeah, the moment I saw his artwork, I knew that's the guy. Amazing person too. So anybody that is looking for a graphics artist, that's the dude.
It's awesome and it's great. It's like from the '70s when I was reading comics, the peak for me. That's what reminded me of that. Those really great illustrations of action,
Mm.
stories.
Yep, yep.
That's where the style comes from. If we could go back, I don't usually go back too much as an artist, but there's not a lot out there on you. So I feel
Good.
maybe if you could help fill in some spaces with some
Okay.
people, because early on, you've from almost from the get-go, it feels like you've performed with top players because you have a fantastic voice and you have a great personality. So you've worked with a lot of top members for WW3 from the beginning. And that was like
Mm.
what, late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah. Mhm.
Kind of give me a little history right there, so people that don't know, because it feels like there's been some gaps in time.
Mm. Do you want me to talk about like the lineup and how that
Yeah,
came to
well,
be?
just about a little bit about the lineup and maybe like the breaks between time, like what you've been up to and stuff, because it's a little blurry. If you don't
Yeah.
mind.
So if we start with the World War III lineup, I actually had a really great lineup right before that, and then Don Arden came into the picture along with his son David Arden, and that became my those are the two managers that I've had in my life, and they got me a record deal. The band was kind of afraid of them because they had a bit of a reputation.
Yeah, little one.
Undeserved, in my opinion, because both David and his father were nothing but great people to me. They never, all the people that said they were going to rip me off ended up ripping me off, and they never did. So once I got management and the band was afraid, that's when we had to put together a new lineup, and that's when Vinny Appice and Jimmy Bain came to audition. And it's kind of funny when you're basically you're a teenager and you're pretending you're auditioning the drummer from Black Sabbath and the bass player from Rainbow. It's this. They had the gig the moment they called, but we had to pretend. So
Pretend.
obviously after that lineup fell apart, a few years later, as most bands do, I started something with Jakey Lee called Wicked Alliance. And we recorded almost an album worth of material, and we toured for like a year and a half, I think. And then as it goes, that fell apart. But then after we broke up, we reunited and recorded some more, and then broke up again, and that went on for a while. And then I started doing solo stuff, and then I just decided I will never do another album unless it's something I'm proud of, because the albums I did make, I can't even listen to it. I don't have a single copy in my house.
You mean like any of them?
No,
Really? Because they're
because
pretty
they
good,
just, well,
You sound great. They are pretty good.
the thing is, I always, I wanted to make music on the level of not just like the best bands out there, but the best work they ever did. I wanted to do stuff like on the level of Van Halen 1 and Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, Back in Black.
Right.
And if that's your goal, then your life is going to be failure. You know what I mean? Because it's almost impossible to get there. But I figured either I'm never going to do another album again, or I'm going to do something that is on that level. And I'm proud to say there's a lot of stuff that you haven't heard yet. Maybe after this I can share with you, and
Yeah, that'd be
have
great. I'd
have
be
a listen
honored.
to a couple. It it is on that level now, and the reason why I know this is because my whole life there's a few people that have never steered me wrong, and every time I'd show them something, knowing what my goal was, they would say, "Yeah, Mandy, it's good, but you can do better."
Oh,
My whole
really?
life, and after a while, that gets old, But this is the first time when I let them listen to some of the newer stuff that I did, where they're like, "This is it, now you have something special." Late,
Oh,
but
wow.
better
Well,
late
it's
than
not
never.
late.
Well,
You're alive. You're still doing it, right?
barely.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on now. I'm glad you're at that point. I think everyone's very hard on themselves. And I think, hopefully at some point you can appreciate you've done some good stuff in the past. Maybe not up to what you think you did, but, I think they're good. Um, the process. So I just want to step back 1 minute. Has any of that Jakey Lee stuff ever going to go anywhere? Because you've written stuff back and forth. Is that just floating? I know people are going to ask me. You mentioned Jakey Lee's name out in the metal world. People are going to want to know. And then now with you singing, they're going to be like, "Oh my God, how do we get this?"
Well, I mean, honestly, people ask me that quite a lot, and I have no answer because I don't even have a tape of it. I know that there's a demo tape floating around that we recorded before we recorded the album,
Hmm.
and I guess sometimes it pops up on eBay, but
Yep.
I
Okay, so it's
don't
nothing
even
official
know.
floating around. No, okay.
Oh,
Then
yeah,
they've heard it, people. It's out there. Stop asking them.
I'm sorry. It's another one of those things. On paper it should have been awesome,
Hmm.
and it wasn't terrible. It was good. But it just wasn't great. You know.
So what's your lineup now, though? Because obviously you've been very in control of all this new music. Who are you working with now as your band? Is it just you bringing in different artists, or do you have a select a team, a band?
Well, I actually, because I have so much making up to do, I have a few projects. One of them is with a producer in Las Vegas called Ronnie Mancuso, and he was the guitar player in Beggars and Thieves. And he played in Red Dragon Cartel, so we have Jake in common. And Yeah, he and I did an album together. Um, then there's this other thing I'm doing with Tim Rossi, who's the guitar player for Blackfoot, which is a like imagine AC/DC on steroids type of thing. Then there's a German producer, Stefan Leibing, that I'm working with. That we have a bunch of stuff coming out soon. That's the guy I did the Ace of Spades tribute
Okay. Yeah.
to Lemmy with. And then I have a new band called Leonine with an incredible guitar player. It's an incredible lineup. We have Dan McNay on bass. He played in Montrose. He played in Great White and a bunch of other bands. We have Paul Simmons on drums, which is one of the most sought after, most talented uh, session guys and studio drummers you'll ever hear. He's amazing, great guy. And we have the guitar player is Dan Festuca, which is he's a beast. He's 6'6", 270 pounds, tattooed mohawk. I mean, he's going to be the first guy and he's going to stand next to me on stage, making me look petite.
I was gonna say, because how tall are you? You're a tall guy. You're a big guy.
Well, I'm not short, but I mean, I wouldn't think that I'm, you know, that I'm that tall. You know, I'm like I'm 6'1" or 6'2", something like that.
Okay, so but yeah, most people are like 5'11" or something average, So you do stand over people. Okay. Just a little perspective here, because you are a lot taller on stage than most people. So this guy's gonna be like banging
Yeah,
his head on the rafters in some places.
he's gonna make me feel feminine.
A newer, daintier version of you out there. Uh, so this is exciting. With I mean, you got that's a lot of music. That's pretty awesome. I mean, especially because it's been such a dry spell, like of nothing new from you in a while, and you have such a great fan base. Like people are so supportive of you. They love you. You know, it's pretty crazy. It's I mean, it's fantastic. It says a lot, but it's also kind of cool because it's like consider your fan base for the amount of music you've done recently. It's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That they're that loyal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, a
That's
lot of bands, if they would have put as little product as if they would have put out as little product as I have, probably wouldn't be around anymore. But I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful.
well, you voice it well, from what I've heard and this song, and hopefully Alex, I'd love to hear some other stuff. But like the Ace Spades, and then even the live clips off the phones and YouTube sounds great. Just like so clips through the years of you going up and jamming at like at the whiskey and playing places, and you are in top form. It's not like you've ever had like a bad. You've always looked good. You're in shape. You sound good through the years. It just hasn't been, the musical output, steady of some artists.
Right, right.
But there's been a period though, and now I can be honest and then take a look back though. A lot of artists were putting out stuff. I support artists doing what they want. That maybe they did need to put out stuff because they felt like they had to.
Mm,
Maybe they could have taken a break because it's not their strongest stuff.
mm,
And they've said that when on my show. So looking back, half full, half empty. Maybe not putting it out right now and having out more now when you're at your best is the better handful of cards. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree.
So that's like so that's four different bands, projects, albums coming out.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, how are you gonna when it rains it pours, Mandy? Like, how are you gonna do this? How are you
Well,
gonna promote it and play some of the songs and not play? You know what I'm saying? Just because you got to work an album somewhat, a little bit at least. You know what I mean? It costs to make it.
yeah. I mean, I just figure, it's not like it used to be when you had to be in a band and you had to really just focus on one thing. Nowadays,
No,
it's a little different. Everybody is in three, four, five different projects, and I just figured I have some making up to do. When people don't tour as extensively anymore, you know, it's mostly unless you're doing something like major, like if you like opening for Iron Maiden or something like that, then you're really just going out there on a few stints here and there. And I figured if I want to get busy, probably need more than one thing. So I'm just gonna, once we have a name for all of these different projects, I'm gonna go out whenever I can, however I can.
I like that. I like
Sounds
that a
like,
lot. No, there's a lot of music to do that. I was just kind of curious if you're ready to do that because obviously you have been touring, and as life goes on and people get older, they're like, I don't want to go to the store. I'm just going to order everything online. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So they'll
yeah,
all of a sudden be like, I can go on tour now as I get older. Like it's a different avenue,
yeah, yeah.
you know. So for you, you're ready for that to go out and do a lot more shows.
That is actually pretty much the only thing that I truly enjoy about this business.
Okay.
You're dealing with so many non-serious people. You're dealing with so many liars, sharks. It's, even when you're recording, when you're writing, that can be difficult because everybody has their own ideas, and so there's a lot of arguing. There's just the only thing that's really fun is when once it's all said and done, you're on a stage and you have your family in front of you, and there's nothing like standing in front of a person you've never met, singing lyrics back to you that you wrote like, 15 years ago in a cellar somewhere. It's just, it's amazing. So
That's pretty powerful stuff. So do you think also as you play out, do you think you might do a combination though too? Like any of your older songs maybe? Because you've got fan favorite songs, you got some new stuff. Maybe you do if none of those bands do anything, like kind of take songs from everything and kind of keep busy.
I think if I just go out as Mandy Lion, I'll be able to do stuff from every band.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some bands like the AC/DC stuff that it's its own thing because like I said, it's like imagine AC/DC on steroids, and that just doesn't go along with some of the other stuff. Some of it is more gothic, and some of it is more
Yeah.
classically influenced. And so if I go out as Mandy Lion, I can do all of it, and
Hmm.
hopefully people will enjoy the variety of it. But with each individual band, I think other than maybe doing like Love You to Death and Time for Terror, I don't think
No, that's what I meant. You just doing like a Mandy Lion solo thing also to kind of
right.
tie together if there's
Hmm.
downtime between each project
Right.
to
Hmm.
kind of keep busy and
Yeah.
sing and do what you like to do live. If no one's touring and playing out, why
Yeah.
can't you sing? You know,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is it?
I'll be busier than a three-legged spastic cat trying to hide poop on a marble floor. So
That's what I haven't heard. Oh God, you are an animal lover
yes.
and a very big animal lover, and actually going back and take a minute and talk about your YouTube page, which I've spent a lot of time in my life now watching. You have a bunch of little chats. And you share some stuff about one of your past animals, beautiful dog,
Yeah.
a beautiful video. Um, it seems very special. Great. Dogs are the best people in the world. They really are. They're better than humans.
Yeah.
And I'll say that.
Yeah.
I will say that. And you've also, you've advocated against trophy hunting. You have a great video going against in support of the evidence of things you say. You don't just throw out generic stuff like on YouTube people do. They just say what they want.
Yeah.
In the video, you say, you talk about Ted Nugent and all his hunting, but and all his back and forth. But you actually find the evidence, and you go back and forth and find him saying against himself,
Yeah.
which you don't see. And I think that's an important video I want people to check out because it puts him in quite a light that if you just watch bits and pieces, it
Yeah.
doesn't see. So I want to encourage you to take up that Ted Nugent thing and how it really supports and goes against that behavior of trophy hunting and how gross it is. I
Yeah.
think it puts it in a good light. That's definitely, one of the best videos. It's harder for me to watch. Afterwards, I
Mm.
got looking it up. I was like disgusted. But I think that's an important video that you talked about early on
Yeah.
in YouTube, just years ago.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for doing something like that for the animals. Thank you. Um, you know,
Well, and also thank you for not having that guy on, even though you could have had him. He says oftentimes he says the right things, but actions speak louder than words. There's pictures of him with his foot on a dead lion's head, and he says he just hunts to eat. Nobody eats lion.
right.
And
Or there was like a rhino. Oh
yeah,
my God. How do you feel good about that? Like, yeah. And to me, I love music and I've avoided politics and I've supported both sides. I don't care what side you're on. As long as you're good to people and you're good to animals, there's people are actually more all leading in the middle. I don't care if you have a conspiracy theory or not. I just want to hear what you have to say. Everyone has to meet on some level.
right.
That's been an important part of my show. But what I will not tolerate is hate and hurt.
Amen.
So to me, the few people I've booted off are people that would have been in, hate groups like the Proud Boys. I would not have them on.
Of
I'm a
course.
musician. I know. And I wouldn't have Nintendo on because of all the animal stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because that's not. I know I grew up in a house of hunters. Even that was hard for me. But it was never. There's no animals. It was actually getting to venison, and they went hunting. There's no trophy stuff. Even to then, I'm like, well, whatever. I didn't do it. I'm like, that's not where I grew up. You know, people I know in my family did. This is showboating. This is mean. It's murder.
Yeah.
And I
You
couldn't do that on
know,
my show.
and he makes it sound like he is just I mean, a certain amount of hunting, unfortunately, is needed because we've
Yeah,
killed off the natural predators to the point where, if we don't kill enough deer, let's say, per year, then I mean, they're going to multiply to the point where there's not going to be any resources for them to survive.
right.
Where normally wolves would keep the population, it's just it's a terrible thing to do, but I don't put hunters like that in the same category as people that just want to
No,
hang a lion's head on the wall.
no. I mean, that's exactly the point. I mean, or the video of the poor hogs running.
Yeah,
That was just a nightmare. You know,
it is
but
because
it's all out there for people to see. It's
yeah,
appalling.
and just to even be laughing while you're killing thousands of animals, you're in a helicopter laughing, shooting them with a machine gun. I mean, I'm sorry, there's just no excuse.
I was actually very surprised. Even that surprised me. I was like, I can't believe anybody was doing that. You know, and then to have it. I mean, it's like it's not even sporting. I mean, it's not even. I don't even know what it is. It's just mean. It's like
Yeah,
back when they used to shoot buffaloes from the trains and just leave the bodies. They first destroyed America. I came over here and took it over.
yeah,
That's just
yeah.
ruthless.
Yeah, he's just one of those little guys, that he just needs to kill something, and when he was talking earlier, that at one point he said he would have loved to be in the army so he could shoot a bunch of bad guys. He had the opportunity, and he actually, he said he never took drugs, and he took drugs to the point where he actually pooped himself, to make sure he didn't have to go to the army because, when you're shooting a pig, it can't shoot back. But the bad guys usually have guns; they can shoot back. So a coward like Nugent just wouldn't engage in that.
And there's actually evidence. I think you talk about it too, because afterwards I went online. So excuse me if the lines are blurred, because I went a little deeper afterwards. I was
Hmm.
so shocked.
Yeah,
That yeah, it's out there. I mean, I think it was it Rolling Stone. He actually, that was the article quoted from Rolling Stone. The whole
yeah,
steps he did to
yeah,
not go in the army, and it involved, in one line he says he's not doing drugs, and the next line he talks about doing drugs. I mean, that article enough is like, whoa. And then, so yeah, definitely to me, I can't support that kind of animal abuse. That's not hunting. So to me, I just stay away from that. Um, the awareness that you brought up in that video, and the way you did it to me was great, because someone has to speak for animals because they can't speak for themselves. You know,
right.
especially like that. That's just not cool. Um, and I want to say there's another thing you did, and I've always noticed it, and I think very few have mentioned it, is Singer from the Cult pretty much absorbed your look, and you didn't go after him when you were asked about it in a mean way. You presented it and the evidence, saying, "Hey, he came out. I think you said, and you please correct me if I'm wrong. He's at your shows for like 3 months. And this is when they were still looking, in their pirate outfits.
Hmm.
Actually, you said, and I hope I quote you right, his puffy Seinfeld shirt, which made me laugh, right?
Yeah,
I visualized it because I did, and that was their kind of their dream ritual period. And I'm not dissing the Colts music because I enjoy their music,
me
but
too.
the timeline of this and the look
Hmm.
of how we went from seeing you into this, and the timeline, how it matched up, and you put it out there. You said it's the same thing as what, and I always believe this, that David Roth did to Jim Dandy. I've
Yeah,
always felt that, and
yeah,
no one's ever really addressed that. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
You know, um, And then eventually you're right. And then eventually you've mentioned how, his look changed many times over the years.
Hmm.
And yours didn't, because this is who you were before he enjoyed that look,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
afterwards. This is who you are.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, you know. And I think that was well spoken the way you put that out there without
Thank you, brother.
making it a media attack. I mean, you still have to stand up for yourself, but you don't have to. There's a classy way to do it.
Right. Right.
And I thought that was a really good way. And I just want to put it out there to people that, you know, the information is out there, and just be aware that, this is his look he's always had. So, you know, not borrowing it. It was maybe the other way around. So a little bit of history there for people that aren't aware. Because once again, you are very laid back, almost like musically shy when it comes to the press, because you don't really put it out there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is a very rare treat to have you actually speak. So once again, thank you. Um, when you're songwriting in these bands, and you bring up a good point, and this is something I talk about a lot, is like, because there's a lot of control in a band or songwriting in a project. It's like, are you taking the lead and you have team members for each song? Are you like 50-50, like leading it, agreeing? Is there somebody, because sometimes you need somebody to steer the ship, everybody puts their opinions in, and somebody goes, okay, great, great, great. Final answer is, you know what I'm saying? Or you're in a situation where you guys are like, we have to haggle out, or is it
Well,
mixed?
I mean, uh, in the end, I feel that a lead singer has to take charge to a certain degree because I can't plug my voice into a different amp. I can't pick up another guitar and get a different sound, you know. So in other words, the songs have to be written around the voice, if anything. You know, and that is also why, like all of the albums that we spoke about earlier, whether it's Van Halen 1, whether it's Back in Black, whether it's Foreigner 4, all of these songs were written and customized for the lead singer in that particular lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when you're in a band, especially usually with guitar players, they don't quite agree with that because they think it should be about them more than anything. And unfortunately, it's like, you know, and I always, like when I talk to young guitar players, I always try and tell them, look, we're human. So so the most human instrument is the voice. So you're going to listen to bands where you might not be a big fan of the guitar player, but if you don't like the singer, you're not going to listen to that band. It just is what it is, you know. And the
Mm-hmm.
best guitar players that you can think of, I always tell them try to humanize the instrument. If you have a guy that is playing a million notes per second, that's not talking. They're not saying anything. They're showing you what they can do with their fingers, but
Right.
what are you saying? And then you have guys like, like Richie Blackmore. You got guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know, they have humanized the instrument. And when you listen to their phrasing and where they put their notes, it's like they're talking, they're singing. So the best guitar players are the ones that start singing with their instrument. Those are the ones that get hurt the most, you know, because that's
Mm-hmm.
how humans listen. But like I said, most guitar players, they think it's about them, and they'd rather have you mix somewhere, you know, in the mud of things where you can't really hear anything. I mean, even I remember even Jake was kind of like that. One of the arguments I had with him, he said, Mandy, if you understand every word the singer is saying, then it's pop music. And I just like I'm like, how it can't be pop music with me singing. That's not even possible. You know, I'll never be pop. You know, I don't have that kind of voice.
Yeah. Right.
But that's what you're dealing with. You know, it's like usually guitar players, usually they're the problem. I hate to say it. It's either them or you have an egomaniac lead vocalist, you know, who thinks that everything is about him, which of course is also not true.
Well, I think, obviously there's a balance, but I think if you don't honor each spot for things, it's going to be a nightmare. And that's why I think, if you're a guitar player, you have an instrumental album, it can be great.
Yeah,
And unless it's a song, you can listen to it like for a while. It's just too much. It's tiring. I mean, you can
yeah,
get like a Steve Vai and, or Neil Zaza, and you listen to it, they're playing, and there's a song, and you could hum along, you can sing along with it
yeah,
because they are writing a song with their guitar, with a
That's it.
melody,
That's it.
which is the kind of guitars I listen to solo albums that don't have singers because I want to have something. I can't listen to just a pure shred album.
Yeah.
I get ear fatigue. I'm like, I respect it. I'm like, God, I couldn't
Yeah.
never do that on guitar, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but also I can't listen to it for a long period. I need to listen to it's going somewhere. It has to have emotion, and you cannot have guitars can have emotion without vocals. Um,
Correct.
but at the same time, if you're a guitar player, and you're playing with a singer. If you don't give space for each other, it's like why even have a singer? Like
Great.
it feels like you're having a singer just because you have to have one because the label's making you have a singer and you just want to have a solo instrumental album.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? It's a weird compromise.
Yeah.
Um, and the guitar and the vocals work together if it's done right. It's the best. That's what Van Halen is. You know what I mean?
See, yeah, I mean, whenever you actually do make that work, that's when you create magic, you know. All of the bands that you and I love probably growing up, you know, whether it's
Yeah.
Van Halen, Rolling Stones, AC/DC, you always have that unique sounding front man and you have that guitar god. And if you can make that work, then you have something special.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
hardly ever does work.
no. I mean, Zeppelin. I mean, you just go on and on and on. All these bands of just where the singer and the guitar player have always been, fodder for each other.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. Um, so at this point, though, for you, you've established who you are, so people coming in know what you're doing. And I like the fact you said, you are like as a singer, you really can't change your voice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And as a musician, usually guitarists can change their sound a lot if they want to, you
Mm-hmm.
know. That's an interesting point. I've really thought about that. It's actually kind of a good line to say other guitarists in the studio because it's true. You know, it's how to find a balance of now in that line though for lyrics though
Mm-hmm.
and songwriting and living life. So I imagine if as a singer, if I was a singer and when I sang horribly in bands growing up, I always wanted to write predominantly all the lyrics because I'm singing it and there's
But
meaning behind them. If you have to say words, people interpret as you anyhow. It's a weird thing. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So, and just bands that have done great where the singers don't write and they put great words for them,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, but for you, is a struggle 100% you want to have all control of your lyrics because, it's Mandy Lion saying these words.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I would be against it. Like even when I do a cover, it has to be something that I can connect with. If I can't connect with it, then it doesn't work for me. I mean, there's one cover that I would love to do is "Hurt" by Johnny Cash,
Hmm.
because in his case, he was talking about drug abuse and what he went through. But to me, especially like I remember the first time I heard that line where he says, "The needle tears a hole." And obviously, that's talking about drug abuse. But in my case, I was raised in a cellar with no light when I was little. And all I ever remember having is nightmares when I would fall asleep. And when I would wake up, you're confused when you wake up. And I couldn't tell the difference whether I was still in my nightmare. Am I awake? Because it's pitch black and there was no
Yeah.
windows. It's foundation of a house. And so I had found a needle, and whenever I would wake up, I'd always keep it with me, and I would stab myself to make myself hurt, to make myself realize that I was awake.
Oh,
And
wow.
and so, I remember hearing that line for the first time, and then I paid attention to the lyrics. I'm like, this could this translates into my experience as well as somebody that would be a drug addict, is when he's talking about his what was his kingdom of dirt, or what was that line?
Oh, yeah, I know
Um,
what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't get it off the top of my head. I'm the worst on the spot thinking of lyrics.
yeah,
Um, but I know what you're talking about. It's a very powerful song.
yeah, yeah,
You got
and
the voice for it too. You got the deep range and
oh
the
yeah,
emotion.
yeah,
Obviously you can draw on the emotion more than anybody.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he made that song his. It's like Trent Reznor did a really good job too, but there's no comparison between those two versions. And I
Yeah,
think Trent even said that.
yeah, it's totally different. I mean, it's just that's his song. You know, and what you've gone through. Um, and hopefully you've gotten some support so you're not totally having that in the back of your mind all the time. I hope you've gotten some support since then and realize how important you are as a person. You know,
Well,
you know.
here's the thing, it's like you can, and I try to get help over the years. There's certain ways you think when you're raised like this, but I can rationalize and say to myself, I can tell myself I'm not ugly. I can tell myself I'm not useless. I can tell myself this, that, and the other thing. But deep down, you will always feel that way because if your parents, the people that should love you the most, if they feel you're worthless, you'll never shake that. It just is what it is. And that will never change. I'll always feel that way as a person, but I do like if somebody gives me a compliment, you know, to me it sounds like mockery, unless it's a song like some of the work that I've done lately
Okay.
that I really am proud of. So if somebody compliments that, I feel good about it. If somebody compliments me, the person, if they compliment my looks or whatever it may be, I always feel like I'm being mocked. I get, and my friends all know that, and it just is what it is. I mean, this is who I'm gonna be until it's over.
Wow. So
I made it work.
you make it work. I do want to say there's such an important thing you've done. So drawing on your lyrics, I mean, you've got, obviously you taught your past, but then there's a current life that you've lived in, and then we've got the current nightmare of the world that's going on. I mean, there's a lot to draw on as a
Yeah,
singer right now, and a lyricist,
yeah,
you know. And then there's finding the balance of not to alienate people, but also say how you feel, you know, as a singer.
yeah,
And some people don't care. Some singers are like, I want to be very inclusive because if everyone's together, we can figure things out. Because if everyone's just yelling at each other on two sides,
right, right.
you're not going to get anywhere. But if people are saying, I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you, but I respect this and I respect this, let's talk and meet in the middle. Sometimes that inclusivity is helpful, you know.
Mhm.
And as a singer and songwriter, those are the choices you make in your lyrics. Do you feel that struggle or challenge?
For me, it's not really a struggle because I feel like when it comes to politics, religion, and a few other subjects, I'm not the guy to go to. So I don't feel obligated to say anything because I don't think my opinion is important enough to anybody, to voice it. I feel my job is to make people not think about politics, for a
Mm-hmm.
while and the current state. I think it should be more of an escape. If I can make you feel a little something different, if I can make you think a little about something a little different, then I've done my job. Because, like you said, the world right now, I mean, this is about as frightening as it ever gets. I went through different stages as far as like lyrics are concerned. Like I used to write stuff just to be funny, which a lot of people didn't get at the time. It's like a song like "The Harder They Come, the Harder I Get."
Yeah.
I can't believe I remember back then I would get people either loved it or they hated it, and the ones that hated it were always, "This is like a stupid lyric that was
But now you're
something
ahead of
was."
the curve, right? Because now that's Steel Panther, and everyone's getting it now.
Exactly, but back then people really didn't get it because it was
Yeah.
heavy metal and it needed to be serious. And I'm like, it's not serious, brothers. I have not killed anybody having sex with them, so we're good.
You have those trophy heads on your wall. Of anybody, of any acts like so like besides music, what is it? What is something that you also do? Like is it animals? Like what do you put your other time? What's fun time for you also besides music? What other things do you do? Like you know, creative? Because I imagine I always like that creative question because everyone who's music has something else. They love to cook, animals, it's art. Like what is your thing?
Well, I mean, there are some things that have stuck with me my whole life, which is martial arts. I mean, my mom used to send me to martial arts class just so she could explain this, you know what I mean? When I would
Okay.
go to school, how do you explain the bruises? People would know what's really going on. So, but that's the animals, and I've developed a great love for watches. over the years, because it's a fascinating thing to me that something with a bunch of gears and springs can tell time as accurately as it does. And some of the best watchmakers, everything is handmade. One of my favorite watchmakers is Daniel Strom. He's people should look him up. I mean, the stuff he does uh, with watches is amazing. I mean, his watches look like something Captain Nemo would wear.
Oh,
He's
really?
very
It's an
uh,
art form, really. When it gets to
it
that
is,
point, it's an art form.
it is. And so I have like I think 45 watches. So I know what time it is. And
You're like
hopefully,
the Flavor Flav of rock.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, so I mean, people should look him up. He's amazing.
I'll put because he works with you, right? He sponsors you. He's a supporter of you, right? So definitely want to support him, and we'll put the link below. Watch
Right.
lovers or just people that are curious, check them out.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I
it's
mean,
always important to support the people
right, right.
we enjoy, and you might fall in love with some watches too. If you get
Exactly.
something out of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Honestly,
fans are, even though of course you have those kind of fans, but fans for the most part are way more open-minded than record labels. I mean, that was the problem I used to have back in the day. For every album, we had some songs that were a little bit outside the box, and they're always like, "You're Mandy Lion, you can't sing a ballad." Why not? Because you're Mandy Lion, you need to be Mandy Lion. I'm like, well, I kind of probably know who Mandy Lion is, so let me let me sing a ballad. They wouldn't let me. So finally now, now that I just don't care anymore, and I'm just gonna write music exactly the
I
way
love
I
that. I
wrote it.
love that. Don't care.
Yeah. But the funny thing is now, the same people that used to try and have me not do that are in love with what I do, and now it's like you wouldn't let me when you had me, so now you want me back doing what I always wanted to do. It's just weird.
Well, I'm excited. I mean, do you think COVID also helped the writing process for you and the availability of things? Like it changed. It made a seismic shift. Not COVID itself, but the music world, technology, media, people's emotions. You know what I'm saying? All
Yeah.
shifted. And did, and when things shifted, everyone else had to realign who they were. And some bands were putting out their best albums. Like everything realigned again differently.
I think
Did
yeah,
you feel that?
I definitely think there are some good things that came out of this tragedy. I mean, especially for somebody like me, it's like I know a lot of my friends were like, man, I'm going stir crazy, because I can't go anywhere. I'm like, I never wanted to go anywhere. So to me, I had a great excuse now not to leave the house and just work on music. You have a good point. I think a lot of people started paying more attention to music because there was nothing to do. They'd be online looking at the videos, and in some ways it helped. I think with live shows it probably hurt because people aren't used to going out anymore. I mean, it's even I have friends in Europe who are saying, it's really hard to get people out to the clubs anymore ever since. Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
what about you and some stuff? Because you have a small footprint, almost like you're in witness protection. You're like a musician in witness protection program.
I like that.
So I was gonna say it's almost done, but I said with merchandise. So can people get merchandise? Because I don't know where they can get it from you right now. Or is it gonna be? Are you making it for the shows and is something forthcoming with the albums? And also wait, hold on. And tentative release dates for some of this music because you have posted new music coming and it'll be like a
Yeah.
single and it'll be like a few years. Like, what's the realistic timeline on that? Okay, I'm done.
I would say you can expect about every 3 months a new single at this point because I have
Mhm.
a lot of material. There's a couple of videos that have already been shot. There's another video that I'm working on as we speak. So there's no more 10-year breaks anywhere in between.
That's like Friends.
And
We were on a break.
I think you might be sick of me in a couple of years.
No,
And
no,
then
we need people like you.
and then merchandise. I mean, just go on eBay. I mean, there's no more. I remember the days when we all had to have a website that you would
So
go to.
do you have a do you have an eBay page?
I actually don't. I mean, but it's if you just go on eBay, and just look for Mandy Lion merchandise, you'll find underwear, hoodies. T-shirts, necklaces.
Yeah. But I'm saying, is it you or is it other people doing it?
That's it all originates with us, and then people can buy it and sell it themselves.
Okay,
Or
okay, okay. So I didn't know. I stuff with eBay and MySpace. I've kind of there's just so much out there. Each time I just stop, I just try going as few things as I can.
yeah,
And I try going directly to the artist. I'm like, where can we go? Is there just, some people just work off of Instagram and they're like, and I'll post a couple pictures of their shirts and say, message me for prices. You know what I mean? And it works
yeah,
great. And then
yeah,
they get off tour, they package up their boxes, they go, it's all coming out, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's why I was asking like a precise spot because it's hard to track down stuff sometimes for people that want to do it. They're like, I want a Mandy Lion shirt, but I haven't got 18 hours to search the web. And then is it
right, right,
authentic?
right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
So,
anybody can contact me on Instagram. That's pretty much the only one I go on. I don't really go on Facebook.
mhm.
But yeah, anybody that, and even from music, I mean, to me, somebody sends me an email and says, I really like that new song. I don't have the money to buy it. I'll send it to them. It's not, like I said, it's not about money. Like if you want something and if I have it, it's yours. So
Well, once again,
they
that's why
can,
you're a good guy, man. You are, you really are. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
thank you for
It's
having me.
been fantastic. Been an honor, and people check them out. The links are underneath the show. Click on it. Also support the watch. Is awesome watch hobby. That's I think 50 is obsession. I don't know 45, 50. I don't know the level. I don't know what the level is there for obsession and hoarding. The numbers are. I say that as a wall of guitars behind me, so I hope you realize there's a tongue in cheek sarcasm
I
there.
noticed.
You know,
There's
so
some nice
I joke.
stuff in the back.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to thank you, and we'll be talking again. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.